Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Jarvis, and today I'm going to be starting a series on radiology eponyms. But first, what is an eponym? Eponyms are terrible. An eponym is something that's named after a specific person, typically some old dead white guy. And in medicine, these are typically diseases or treatments or diagnostic signs. It's not like I didn't have enough to learn in medical school and residency. Now I have to memorize some arbitrary name that has no contextual clues as to what it refers to so that your name can live on forever as the guy who invented a new pinky fracture. So today we're going to talk about Rigler's sign. But first, a little bit of background. The human GI tract is basically a long tube which is essentially open to the outside world. I mean, if you think about it, you can pretty much put whatever you want into your mouth and it'll either pass through or get partially absorbed with varying degrees of success. Quick side story. When I was in elementary school, the Guinness Book of World Records was a super popular book to check out from the library. All the kids would scramble to snatch up all the copies, and I remember one time I was lucky enough to get a copy, and supposedly there was a guy who ate an entire Cessna airplane. I mean, wow. Even when I was 8, I was calling BS. I mean, how do you begin to swallow a engine block or a wheel or, all that aluminum? I mean, I guess if you had access to some kind of machinery that could grind it into like a fine powder, but I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of work to poop out an airplane. So your bowel is basically exposed to the outside world. And the thing about the outside world is it's just absolutely filthy. So in addition to absorbing nutrients and such, your digestive system does a pretty reasonable job of keeping most of the nasty stuff out. But occasionally something will go wrong and you'll get a perforation or hole in your bowel that lets all the dirty poop in progress spill into your abdominal cavity. This can lead to really bad infections and possibly death. Now, what kinds of things can lead to bowel perforations? I bet I can think of at least 20. Bowel ischemia, ruptured appendicitis, perforated ulcer, ruptured diverticulitis, necrotic cancer, stabbing, inflammatory bowel disease, bowel surgery complication, gunshot wound, fecal impaction, colonoscopy gone wrong, swallowing razor blades, impaled on a fence, drinking strong acids, gored by a bull, amateur sword swallowing, shrapnel from homemade spaceship explosion, botched Guinness World Record attempt, forgot the safe word, or lonely and resourceful, haunted bowel, like maybe you ate or swallowed a ghost and it's trying to get out. If you can think of any more, put your ideas in the comments below. We'll make it a contest. Winner gets a smug sense of self-satisfaction. Since bowel perforation is such a big deal, it's important to have ways of detecting it. Which brings us to Rigler's sign. Rigler's sign is air outlining both sides of the bowel wall on abdominal x-ray, which suggests free air and likely perforation. Air generally is only found inside loops of bowel, either from gas-forming organisms or swallowed when eating and drinking. The space around the bowel is filled with fat and other soft tissues. As you'll recall from my video on X-ray, air, given its low density, shows up dark or black on X-ray. The thin wall of the bowel is made up of soft tissue, which is gray on X-ray. Since the surrounding fat and other soft tissues also are gray, you typically can't identify the outside of a loop of bowel. Normal bowel loops look like bubbles of dark air and a mass of gray soft tissue on X-ray. With perforation, air escapes into the abdominal cavity, outlining both sides of the bowel wall. So you have dark air, the thin gray bowel wall, then dark air on the outside. Here are a few examples. You can see that the thin bowel wall is outlined on both sides by darker air. And here's a study I read on a newborn in the ICU. They got this x-ray to check on the positions of the support lines and tubes and didn't really expect any abnormality in the abdomen. Again, the bowel wall is well defined by air on both sides. Here's a follow-up with the patient's right side up. This allows any free air to float upwards where you can see a large amount of air outlining the liver. Okay, so who is this Rigler? Well, Rigler's sign is named after Leo George Rigler, who was an American radiologist and one of the founding fathers of clinical radiology. He became chief of radiology at the University of Minnesota, where he was a pioneer in radiology education. After World War II, he traveled throughout the world with the World Health Organization to help establish radiology teaching programs. He wrote hundreds of papers and sometimes these people aren't terribly interesting for a general audience. I mean, don't get me wrong, he sounds like he was a pretty big deal, but I don't know, to have a sex scandal or moonlight as a rodeo clown or something. Anyway, let me make some jokes about his mustache and we'll wrap this up. Look at it, it's just so thin and gray, it's like a ghost mustache. If you cross your eyes like you're looking at a Magic Eye poster, it disappears completely. It's like his mustache went back in time and killed his grandfather and is slowly fading from existence. Rigler sign has become somewhat less important in the age of CT, but it's still something to look out for on abdominal x-rays. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and look forward to more radiology eponym videos in addition to my other award-winning radiology content. I'll see you next time.